Hello everyone. Thanks so much for being here as always. I hope you're doing really well. My name's Helene and this is my latest tutorial, my latest pattern. It's very enjoyable. It's great if you need a last minute gift. It works up quickly. It's only a 2-row repeat after our first setup row. It is worked vertically long ways. And I'm going to go through it with you step by step as always, and a couple of different options for you. It's reversible in a way that the stitch pattern is not the same on both sides, but in my opinion both sides look really nice. This is the right side and this would be the inside or the wrong side, but it gives really nice different type of texture and look. Could be worked for a man, so you have a unisex type and different things you can do with it. You can have optional buttons such as shown in the beginning photos and or optional faux fur. If you struggle sometimes with putting this thick faux fur on, I have a video, a tutorial on how I attach mine. The link for that is below in the description box. You can just do, I did a simple slip stitch around this one, and I did a different type of stitch which I will show you around this. This was the first one that I did, and this was worked in the Lion Brand Landscapes yarn when they had their solid colors. I still have a little bit of that, and this one is a Michaels, one of their new roving type of limited edition yarns. I bought this one skein just to give it a try, and this pattern works up really well if you want extra warmth and a lot of texture, and a type of yarn that maybe is a little bit spongy in the way that it tends to loft up. Or again, roving yarns would be really great. Really any yarn and any weight. I suggest up to maybe a chunky or a light bulky type of weight. This is the Red Heart Hygge yarn, Hygge, and it has that kind of furry type of texture where the fibers stick up like little hairs. You can see that. Joanne, if you're in the United States, they still carry that as well. And you could also, if you like fringe, you could easily add fringe along the edges too. Alright, so let's go ahead and get started. So you can make this in any length that you want. It doesn't have to be the little bit shorter version, which I did, a cross between, say, a neck warmer and a full-length scarf. You can make it a full-length scarf if you like. I also recommend going with the hook size on the ball band as your initial guide, but you can test swatch it for desired stitch separation. So if you want it a little more open and airy, if you live, say, in a more moderate or warmer weather climate and want to work it in a lighter weight yarn, you can certainly do that, or you can go down a hook size if you want this a little more dense and compact and the stitches closer together. It will also depend on the type of stitch definition that you like, of course, and the yarn that you're working with. We're going to begin with either foundation single crochet or a long chain. If you are going to work it in the length that I designed it, which is about midway down your waist, so about halfway between the bottom of your bust and your belly button for that cross between a neck warmer and a full scarf, then 2 skeins should be enough of, say, that number 4 average medium to a little bit thicker weight yarn. And so then you work this down to approximately your belly button, maybe even a little bit longer. If you're long-waisted, I would say go a little bit longer because this will shrink in length somewhat. Okay, so if you're going to work a foundation single crochet, which I recommend to give you a nice even full stitch on one side, that is going to give you good symmetry and match up with what we do on the other side. Then if you want to work a border, it gives you a full stitch to work into. I do recommend that. I'm going to show you a few stitches and then leave you to the rest to finish that up. If you prefer doing a chain, you can do that. Oh, but first, in the foundation single crochet, you work it in an even number all the way around your neck, draping down both sides approximately to your belly button or a little bit below. If you are working a chain, then you will do an even number plus 1. So if, say, you're working 100 stitches, then you add one more, you'll have 101. And then you turn your work, chain 1, single crochet into the second chain from the hook and all the way across. And that first chain 1 does not count as a stitch. All right, so to begin with the foundation single crochet, I'm going to chain 2, roll the work to the back, insert your hook into that back bump, the middle loop, yarn over, draw up a loop, 2 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through the first, that is your first chain, yarn over, pull through 2, and that completes your single crochet. So you're building your chain and your single crochet in 1. Now go back to these 2 loops on the side into your chain, insert your hook again, and that's right below here. Here's your working yarn. You have the 2 stitches vertically just below the loop on your hook. Just below that is your chain. Now this counts as your first stitch, so if you want to, go ahead and pop in a stitch marker here so you can mark that your placement. Alright, so insert your hook into both loops of the chain, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through the first, there is another chain, yarn over, pull through 2, there's your single crochet. So as you're working this, your tail end is on the top and your single crochet stitches are on the bottom, and when we finish, and we're just going to roll that over to get into the position just like when you're normally working in rows back and forth. Alright, so go ahead, if you're working the foundation single crochet, work that to your desired length in an even number. Okay, I'm back. I just have a small sample here of 16 foundation single crochets. As mentioned, here is the tail end at the top, and now just rotate that from bottom to top, roll it over, and now the tail end should be at the bottom left. And if you were working the foundation single crochet just for this very beginning stitch, going from the foundation single up to our first row, we're just going to chain 1 for this row only, this one time, just to kind of get more to the height and the position that we need. Alright, so row 2 and 3 are our repeats, and then you can work either an alternate double crochet or a chain 3 as your beginning double crochet. And if you are doing a chain 3 at the beginning of each row, and that does count as your first stitch, although I really recommend doing the alternate double crochet again for a full stitch on the side, and especially if you're doing a border to work into, it's going to be a lot easier for you, and this is such an easy way to do that. Alright, so you will insert your hook through both loops of the very first stitch, work 1 single crochet, and into that front loop on the left, insert your hook and work another single crochet, and that counts as your first double crochet. Then we're going to work a double crochet into the back loop of the next stitch, and then we're going to work a double crochet cross stitch working into the back loops all the way across up to the last 2 stitches. All right, so we are going to skip the next stitch, double crochet into the back loop of the next, cross back over in front of the stitch, the double crochet you just made, and then work into the back loop of that skip stitch. Work the double crochet. Okay, so there is 1 double crochet cross stitch into the back loop. So make sure, if you're new to this, looking at your placement, don't accidentally, when you work into the next stitch, make sure you skip that stitch of the crossover. Don't accidentally work into that same stitch, or you will be creating an increase. So you can see how the back loops pull up a little bit, and that's an indication that you have worked into these 2 stitches, right? So we're going to skip the next stitch, okay, work into the back loop, work a double crochet into the back loop of the next, then cross back over and double crochet into the stitch you skipped. And there is another double crochet cross stitch into the back loop, and it's going to raise the stitches in front and is what gives you that really nice texture. Okay, again, going to skip this is the very next stitch where that first double crochet. Okay, skip this next stitch, double crochet into the back loop of the next, cross over, you're crossing over in front of the double crochet you just made, and then double crocheting to the back loop of that skipped stitch. Right, so this is all you do all the way across. Skip the next, double crochet into the back loop of the next, cross over in front of the double crochet you just made, double crochet into the back loop of the skip stitch. You repeat this across up into your last 2 stitches. Okay, I'm at the end. 2 stitches left. The second to last, we are going to double crochet, 1 double crochet into the back loop, and then in the last stitch, double crochet through both loops. Okay, that has completed row 2. And now for row 3, which is the second row of our 2-row repeat. Turn the work and work as recommended, either an alternate half double crochet this time, or you can chain 2 as your beginning first half double crochet. Right, so half double crochet, I am going to work it in the same way and count that as a half double crochet as I did the alternate double crochet. So again, insert your hook through both loops of that very beginning stitch, make a single crochet, insert your hook into the front loop only on the outer left side of that vertical loop, and make another single crochet. So that's going to count as both our double and our half double alternate crochet. And then in the next stitch, we're going to work into the front loops of the next and all the way across. You roll your work, you will see the V that makes up your chain. All right, so we're going to work into the front loop now, the one that's closest to you. We worked in the back loop on the last row, which was the loop farthest away. Okay, so into the front loop, work your half double crochet, and in every stitch all the way across. It's as easy as that, up into your last stitch. So you're going to work in the front loop on these all the way across. Okay, and the last stitch, work half double crochet through both loops. Then you just repeat rows 2 and 3. your double crochet, cross stitch into the back loop across, and then the half double crochet into the front loop across, going through both loops on both sides, which will give you a nice strong base so that you can work your border stitches into. And then you repeat these 2 rows to desired width, ending on row 2, and then we will have 2 very easy finishing rows to do with 2 options for row 2 on that. All right, and then you can already see just that quickly with the 1 repeat of rows 2 and 3, that counts as 1 repeat. You can already see the stitch definition, and this is considered the wrong side, which still looks really good, and then this is the right side where you get the ridged rows. And so you end on row 2, and also I recommend doing an odd number of repeats if you are putting on buttons, because that's going to give you an even placement. When you're placing your buttons, then they'll be evenly spaced across. So by that, you will have your 2 outer edges, and then you will have, here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 full repeats. The repeats consists of rows 2 and 3. Then we have our beginning foundation single crochet, and then we're going to do another finishing edge to match this first side as close as possible, and then with your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 repeats, you have your 2 rows in the center, rows 2 and 3, and then you have 2 sets on either side. So it gives you more of an even distribution of your button. As far as deciding on where you want your buttons placed, that's going to depend on how high up you want that scarf to be on your neck when they're buttoned. So for example, what I do to decide on mine is I will take the scarf, place it around my neck when it's finished, and have the 2 sides draping down my body. And then I will take a look in the mirror and see how it looks and feels, how high up the scarf goes, as if it were buttoned. And then I'll take a stitch marker and just place that in the approximate area so I know that's where I'm going to attach them. But you still have versatility within that. And as far as buttonholes on the other side of the scarf without buttons, I just use a space in between the double crochets. So when you're choosing a button, make sure it goes through easy enough without stretching out your stitches, but not too small of a button where it's going to slip back through either. And as far as the versatility goes, if you want to adjust where that is buttoned up, say maybe one day it's not as cold and you want those buttons a little bit lower, you can just move either side of your scarf up or down to change the placement of it, as shown in the photos at the beginning, along with how I turned down the collar for yet another look. All right, so I'm going to recap these 2 rows real quick with you, and then we'll go over the border options. All right, so row 2, we're not going to chain 1 this time like we did at the very beginning if you're working the alternate double crochet. If you did the chain, then you're going to chain 3 every time. So now we're just going to work directly into both stitches of the first and do your alternate double crochet, and then you are going to double crochet into the back loop. It's furthest away from you, and then now we're going to work cross stitches across up into our last 2 stitches. So you skip the next, work a double crochet into the back loop of the next, cross back over to the double crochet you just made, and double crochet into the back loop of that skipped stitch. You repeat that across, skip the next, double crochet into the back loop of the next, cross over, and double crochet into the back loop of the skipped stitch. Repeat that across, with up to the last two. Then you double crochet, just one double crochet into the back loop of the second to the last, and then you double crochet through both loops of the last, and I will just meet you at the end. Okay, and at the end, one double crochet in the back loop of the second to last, double crochet through both loops of the last. So that is row 2, or 2-row repeat, and then now turn, and you can either chain 2 if you're doing your chains for the half double crochet, or work the alternate, no chain, and then work that alternate double crochet, which can work for both a double and a half double depending on the thickness of your yarn. Okay, now into the next stitch we're working into the front loop of our chain, the loop closest. Just work a half double crochet, and in every stitch across with one half double crochet through both loops of the very last stitch. So again, you repeat these 2 rows 2 and 3 to your desired width, but we are going to end on row 2, so remember you're going to have the width for that. Then row 2 is a cross stitch row. I'm going to work one more across. I will meet you there and then show you what we do for the little finishing round for the body of the work portion, and then the optional borders. I am back at the end of row 2, and so I've finished to my desired width, which will be side to side because the pattern is worked vertically, lengthwise. Okay, and then now this is very easy to have a little edge that looks like our beginning edge. Going to chain 1 and turn, does not count as a stitch, single crochet through both loops of your beginning first stitch, and then single crochet in the front loop, loop closest to you, and each stitch across except for your very last stitch you're going to single crochet through both loops. Easy as that. I am at the end of our finishing row 1, last stitch through both loops, single crochet. Right, so 2 options for the border. This is option 1 that I'm going to show you, is that I just worked a slip stitch around. I'll show you how I do that when I get to the corners. So if you're working this for either a man, a guy, or someone who likes a real simple clean lines and wants it smooth around the edges, or it could vary on the yarn that you're working in. And this is a number 5. It's kind of a chunky, light, bulky weight, and it just created too much bulk when I worked the modified reverse single crochet that I did on my others. And then this one as well just seemed to look better with doing just the slip stitch all the way around versus this other, the first one I did, and that will be the second option that I will show you, where I did the modified reverse single crochet. And that looks good whether you add faux fur or just leave it plain. Chain 1 and turn. Okay, and then slip stitch into the front loop of each stitch across. So now we're going to be working on the front side. So you're working on through the actual stitches rather than what I call the raw edge going across the top or the bottom. So you work into the front loop, loop closest to you, all the way across, and then we get to the corner, just going to chain 1 to make that corner turn, and then slip stitch into the next stitch. Try to get those evenly across, because, and I would work actually on the corner one. You could go through both loops instead of the front loop just to anchor that a little more. That's up to you. I chain 1 to make the turn, and then slip stitch. You can go through one or both stitches, that's up to you, and you can test that out depending on the yarn that you're working into. And because here, so we have a half double and double crochets, so for every double crochet row, work 2 stitches, and then work 1 into the half double crochet where you have the ribbing, 1 into the center, and then 2, 1 and 2 that equal up the double crochet row. I hope that makes sense. Okay, that way you don't wind up with too many stitches across. We're going to get a ripple effect, or not enough, where it's going to overstretch your yarn. And you can keep track of the number of stitches you go across this one edge to make sure when you come back around the other side and then work down the other edge, you have the same number, the same amount. So again, double crochet, you need 2 stitches to equal the width of the double crochet, and then place 1 to where you have that raised rib stitch, and 1 in the next. It's kind of down the center. And I'm sorry for the lighting, I can see I'm getting shadows. Okay, so then now here we are with that double crochet, and then place slip stitch there, slip stitch into the next, and then 1 on the edge. I'm going through both loops to anchor that edge, especially where my beginning slip knot, and again chain 1 to make that turn. Then you can go back into the same stitch, make another slip stitch, and then through each stitch across. And on the opposite side, you can go into the back loop if you prefer, front or back. You can just test it out to see which way it looks the best. It's up to you. You can go through both loops if you want, so that's up to you. So then you just work those slip stitches down the other side, and then when you get to the corner, you do the same thing as we did at the top of these 2 corners with the chain 1, and then slip stitch into the next stitch, and then you just work back this other side, and make sure on this other raw edge that you do the exact same number as you did here. Okay, so that's option A, and then option B, to chain 1, right, and then work a reverse single crochet in the next, chain 1, skip the next, reverse single crochet into the next, and you are working through both loops on every stitch all the way around. Okay, chain 1, skip the next, reverse single crochet in the next, chain 1, skip 1, reverse single crochet into the next, and then you repeat this all the way across. You're going to chain 1, and just like we did at the beginning, because again now you see you have to make that corner, you're going to reverse single crochet into the next stitch without skipping one. And because you are working on the raw edge here, you're just going to have to kind of gauge where it goes. Chain 1, and what you can do is you can lay your hook down without stretching it, but just lay it down horizontally, parallel, flush with the top of your stitches, and then you can see where that chain lands as your next stitch, so you're going to skip that and then you work across to your next. And then again, you can count how many that you've done to make sure you do the same on the other side so that both edges are even. And when you get to the end, the corner, then you do the exact same thing. You place your reverse single crochet into the corner stitch, chain one, and then work another reverse single crochet into the very next stitch coming up the other side to get that extra length to make that corner so it doesn't tug in. Alright, so then you chain one, skip the next, reverse single crochet into the next, chain one, skip one, reverse single crochet into the next. That's what you do all the way around, repeating the same process in the corners. Now if you want to add fringe to one end instead of faux fur, then when you come up this other side, instead of working another corner, your last corner, and going across this raw edge, you can just stop there, leave this edge as it is, and then you can just insert your fringe into 2 loops on the bottom edge here, or fit them in wherever you like. I would probably go on the edge and then through the 2 loops of each stitch, going all the way across, which works it out to about every other, and then on the edge too. That's what I would do. You can do that however you like. And if you're doing the slip stitch version, it's easy to insert fringe into the slip stitch. You can fit it in. Or you could do a slip stitch, chain one slip stitch, and put it in between where you have your chain. But to me, there's not bulk here where it's going to interfere with fringe. Okay, well that's it for this tutorial. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you'll make it. And if you do, please let me know. I'd love to know the style and version that you made, the type of yarn that you used also. And if you have any other ideas that you came up with yourself. Okay, well please come back again next time. Thanks again for being here. Take good care, everyone, and I will see you soon. Bye for now.